Who doesn't like man's best friend? Dogs. I have dogs. I have two dogs, Cooper and Frank. I love my dogs. I love all dogs. But you know something? I don't think my neighbor would love it if I had 20 dogs. You don't like that? You may be muzzled. Also tonight, he is known for being politically incorrect, but did Bill Maher
Loud
go too far?
tribesmen. That's the new Kenyan, Larry.
Meg Whitman and Jerry Brown. Our guest Charles Feldman will tell us it doesn't matter who the next governor is, they're both doomed to fail.
When it hits the fan, it hits my desk.
Plenty of things have hit his desk, but few more disgusting than this. I sit down with the city attorney as he gets tough on crime and tough on City Hall. All the stories people are talking about and everything you need to know right now on The Filter. Seriously, I'm not kidding around. City of Los Angeles may allow your neighbor to have 20 dogs. We're going to unleash that in a couple of minutes, but let's get started. We're less than 2 months away from you getting to decide whether you want the right to light up legally. Prop 19 would legalize marijuana for people 21 years and older. But before you vote, you might want to consider this. The annual National Survey on Drug Use and Health shows the rate of illicit drug use rose from 8% to 8.7% last year. The big reason, the use of marijuana, especially when it comes to teenagers. Survey also found increases in the use of ecstasy. I guess you could make the argument if marijuana was legal, the use of illegal drugs wouldn't have risen as much. Then again, the concern there is kids, and if marijuana could lead to harder drugs. Our contributors tonight, former LA City Councilman Jack Weiss, and from redcounty.com, Matt Cunningham. Our pictures are furnished by Skype. Matt, we'll start with you. Does this survey mean anything, or do you think the people in the state of California have already made up their minds?
I don't think they've made up their minds yet. They still have a couple of months left to go to change, but I think at the end of the day, the people in California will probably shy away from taking this is a pretty big step in terms of legalizing something that's been illegal for decades. And I think when in doubt, voters in California tend to vote no. What I think this shows is that even if you do legalize this, you'll still have a lot of illegal use by people under 21. So it's not going to solve all of our drug war problems, I think, as proponents proclaim. And I think it has problems of its own in terms of law enforcement, dealing with people who are using drugs on the job or using them when they're driving, having marijuana laws that vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. ABC laws, alcoholic beverage laws don't vary from city to city. There's a state standard that everybody has to deal with. And I think this is even legalization proponents. Some of them have a problem with how this one was written. It's written and underwritten by a man who's made his fortune in the medical marijuana business up north.
What do you think, Jack? You were on the city council. Will this pass or not?
By the way, Fred, I've got some other phone call in my ear from your office there. But no, I don't think it's going to pass. I think the people of the state are very sympathetic to issues of medical marijuana. Indeed, the state passed a medical marijuana legalization proposal several years ago. It's still complicated in terms of its implementation. But coming to full-scale legalization, I don't think the people of the state are going to go for it. One of the reasons, frankly, is because people have seen that the medical marijuana initiative has been so difficult to implement.
Well, how would it be difficult to implement? You can smoke pot and you can buy it if you're 21 or over.
Well, again, it's easy for you to say, but
well, it seems that easy.
Medical marijuana seemed easy to people as well, and it has been very challenging for different cities around the state to implement it.
All right, well, we'll see. Still some time. We'll see how that one plays out. Let's move on. Some people embrace the outdoors, love to travel in an RV. A lot of folks live in RVs, many of them along the streets in Venice. See, that's become an issue when it was discovered that people were dumping their waste on the beach and on the streets. To be perfectly honest, it was absolutely disgusting. How do you control the parking of RVs in Venice? Well, how about creating safe parking lots where at least some of the RVs could park at night? Streets to home is what it's being called. Then the RVs wouldn't be parked in front of people's house, except the people don't like that idea. They think it would encourage more RVs to come to town and make the problem worse, not better. What do you do? If you had the final word in Venice, what would you rule, Jack?
Oh, I don't think it's a hard issue. You prosecute people for violating the law. And then I've heard there's some nonsense out there about creating special areas near the beach where people can live in their RVs. I mean, honestly, at this stage, and in society at this sort of severe budgetary stage for cities in the state. That has to be about the lowest priority I can think of. People are doing this, prosecute them.
Well, but there's no law to keep them from parking on the street. Instead of setting up a safe place for them to park at night, how about, and I don't know if this can be done, you enact a law that says if you're an RV, you can't park on the street in Venice. Could they do that? You're an attorney.
Whatever you could do, whatever the most call it significant restriction you could put on preventing people from sleeping in their cars at night by preventing cars from being there overnight, I'd support. It's not a hard call.
But then why won't they do it? Why won't the city council do it?
What did you just say?
Why won't they enact a law like that?
I don't comment on that anymore, Fred. Who knows?
What do you think about this, Matt? Should they create a safe place for the RVs to park? Or should they just shut them down and move them out of Venice?
It's absurd. It's not the government's business to create a safe place for people who want to live in their RV. They have RV parks for that. If you want to live in a motorhome, go to an RV park. You can jump from campground to campground. But I think, as Jack's perfectly right, the city of Los Angeles has gigantic problems. This has got to be, their problems are like an elephant size. This has got to be a flea size problem under a universe.
Yeah, but you know what? But wait. Let me just say this to both of you. It might seem like a flea-sized problem unless you're living in Venice. The RVs are parked right next to your door, and people are dumping their waste on your street.
Well, that ought to be prosecuted. That violates. You don't need to pass a new law to prosecute people for dumping human waste on the streets.
Yeah, but
there's laws to take care of that. And if people are doing that, if they're using public streets as a place to live, they ought to be prosecuted and kicked out, not given a safe place to camp.
No, but again, I guess my question is, and maybe we don't have the answer here tonight, why couldn't a law be passed prohibiting RVs from parking overnight on the streets in Venice? You don't need safe place for them to park?
I think you can pass such a law.
Well, maybe that's the answer instead of coming up with a safe place for them to park.
I think the council's afraid of being accused of being unsympathetic to the homeless.
All right, let's move on. Do you have a dog or a cat? Do you have 2? Do you have 3? In the city of Los Angeles, that's all right. More than 3, though, requires a resident to apply for a kennel permit. Do you like that law? Or would you like to be able to have up to 5 pets? If you love animals, that'd probably be great. 2 councilmen have come up with this idea. They think it would increase city licensing fees up to $800,000 and relieve overcrowding at animal shelters. Opponents say that it would increase fleas, parasites, and rodents. It would cause sanitation and odor problems. They're concerned about the amount of barking as well. In this proposal, each resident is allowed 5 pets. So if you're a family of 4, you could have 20 dogs. Keep in mind, estimates are the city would make $800,000. Does this idea have more bark than bite, Matt?
It's just pure silliness. They practically admit it as a way to get a little extra tax revenue from the people by allowing them to have more pets. And the way I look at it, it's 2 sides of the same coin, whether it's the government saying you can have 3 pets or 5 pets. I don't think it's the role of government to tell you how many pets you can have. I mean, if you have 20 dogs and they're causing a problem for your neighborhood, and there's public nuisance laws that can take care of that. But this is a cash-strapped city just looking under the couch cushions for extra change. I think they have bigger problems to deal with than whether people can have 3, 5, or 10 dogs and cats.
Well, the thing you do, man, you live in a very nice neighborhood, Jack. You do as well. I mean, would you want your neighbor in your neighborhood to have 30 dogs right next to you? Would you want that to be the case? No, of course you wouldn't want that to be the case.
But there are laws to deal with that. It becomes a public and health nuisance if somebody has that many dogs next door. So you can take care of it that way. You don't have to have the government coming in and regulating whether you have 3, 5, 7.5, 2 dogs and a parakeet. It's ridiculous.
All right, what do you think, Jack? What do you think about the proposal?
Fred, I just think it's a scary night when I find myself agreeing with the Red County dude time and time again. I mean, that's not why we're here, right? But look, first I want to say it very clearly, we have a dog. We adopted a dog from a rescue shelter. It's the 3rd time we've done that as a family. Every dog we've had as a family has been adopted from a rescue shelter. 3, but unfortunately the prior 2 passed, and when they passed, we adopted a new one.
Right.
And the dog is like a member of our family. We treat the dog like a member of our family. We talk to the dog. The dog right now, you can maybe hear him in the background or hear her in the background. She's racing around. Having said that, it's right around the level of priority of creating parking lots for weirdos who live in RVs and sleep at the beach. This level of priority. I have no idea why people would spend their times on a law like this when we have severe, severe budget shortages in this city that potentially threaten public safety and access to basic public facilities. It's crazy.
Well, if everybody had 20 dogs, they'd make $800,000. They'd help knock that budget down. All right, let's move on.
Whatever.
All right, last question. And it's a personal question. Is it ever appropriate to use the N-word? Some people might say in the right context, whatever that might be, it's okay. But I'm pretty sure the vast majority of people would say no. It's degrading, it's derogatory. Last night on Larry King, Bill Maher was talking about Republicans' disgust for the president when he went somewhere and said something he shouldn't have done.
Where this rhetoric has gone to at this point, it's only 2010. And we're having Newt Gingrich, as we were talking about before, calling him an anti-colonial loud tribesman. Loud tribesman. That's the new Kenyan, Larry. And Kenyan, of course, was code for But that's where they are. They can't say it out loud, but that's where this whole campaign is going to be. You asked about racism? It's all about racism. They cannot fathom this idea that there is a black president, and that's what they are going to fight about.
LA Times conducted a poll today, and more people thought Bill Maher was okay with what he said than was wrong. Do you give Bill Maher a pass here, or should he apologize, Jack?
Oh, you know what? I couldn't care less what, celebrities say about pretty much any issue. I think it's one of the most bizarre things of America that we care what actors or comedians or television producers say about any issue. I mean, we've got an actor as governor of the state. I think it's a bizarre flaw we have in the American body politic. Having said that, he was wrong to say it. He shouldn't say it. Whether an actor, celebrity apologize, I couldn't care less. I'd rather he not speak out on issues, period, because I find celebrities rather uninteresting. He's wrong to use that word. I never use that word, and I can't imagine. I mean, there's going to be some sort of, kindergarten level logic, I suppose, that justifies it, but he's wrong.
All right, what do you think, man?
I suppose when you have historical context like a documentary or a movie like a Mississippi Burning, it's all right when setting context, but I think Bill Maher, I thought it was stupid of him to say that, but I think his whole dialogue was just staggeringly stupid. He sat there with a straight face saying that all Republicans disagree with Barack Obama because he's black. And he honestly believes that. And that, to me, just discredits him entirely as a political commentator or a political observer of any stripe or of any caliber, let alone dropping the N-word as sort of vitally as he did on Larry King. I'm surprised Larry King didn't stir out of his stupor during the interview to say something about it. Yeah,
and Larry King basically just let it slide. All right.
Hey, Fred?
Yes.
I think actually it's a fair issue. The Dinesh D'Souza article, Newt Gingrich's comments, it's a fair issue about whether those constitute either race baiting or an inappropriate injection of race into American discussion. It doesn't help the issue when you use a word that is only 100% insensitive and just turns everybody off. And to the extent that he was trying to be taken seriously, I think he's basically disqualified himself.
I think that's a good point. All right, Jack and Matt, well done tonight, guys. Nice talking to you. I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.